Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Unlocked Show for today. So, Friday here in Australia, Thursday for you guys, wherever it is you are in the world. Well, actually, let me know where you are and what day of the week it actually is. It gets a bit confusing for me with all these different time zones and what have you. But today's show, I'm going to be talking about if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I want to know how many of you guys have actually heard that term and have been living by it. So whilst I'm getting myself organized, I want you guys to type to me in the chat box. I'm just going to bring up the comments here so I can actually see you guys speaking to me. I'm currently streaming live to 5 different places. So right now you might be seeing this inside of the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life. That's where we go live every Tuesday and Thursday for America and Wednesdays and Fridays for Australia and New Zealand. So if you're not currently watching me inside of that group, I would recommend that you go check us out, find us on Facebook and come and join the group so you can not only see this show, but see many other shows that we're doing on a regular basis from all sorts of experts in different fields of business in terms of helping you with your business, your family, or your life. So come on over here. Like I said, if you're watching me on YouTube or you're watching in another Facebook group, this is the place to be inside of the Success Secrets Facebook group. Right now, you'll also be seeing above you that there is something that says StreamYard. I'm currently streaming this via StreamYard. For me to be able to know who's online with me and for you to communicate with me, you need to accept that you'll allow StreamYard to see you so I can actually see you. And you can follow along with today's conversation and type to me in the chat box so that I can make sure that I address any questions or any comments that you have from today's show. So welcome. Today's show is brought to you by the Metadime Digital Channel. And we are also sponsored today by Usability. That's the place you go if you want to create a website funnel or an e-commerce store that's really simple and easy to use, hence their name. So you can head on over there. I will put that into the chat comments after the show so that you can go there and you can pick yourself up a 10% discount on their monthly plans just simply by being an Unlocked viewer. So let's kick this off. You guys excited? I always am when I jump on here with you guys. It's always nice to see who's on with me and your conversations in the chat. So make sure that you're talking with me. So let's go down this path. It is an old term. We've heard it many, many times. You know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And quite frankly, Benjamin Franklin, no pun intended, put that quote out. And I had been living by it. In fact, my business, my consulting business, would write business plans for people. And why I say I want to call BS on this particular, I suppose, quote in its form, and why I feel that it's flawed in its fundamental state. If you don't do some other things, and I'm going to share with you obviously what they are. So I think it's flawed because after being a consultant for many years, I think I'm like eight years or so since leaving my corporate career, one of the things that I would do for clients would be to write their business plans. And I would find that no matter how much planning you did, if it was not followed by follow through and action, the actual planning itself was waste of time, was useless. So I want to talk a little bit about this whole planning piece and why it's the number one killer of a lot of businesses and why it actually stops you in your tracks. It prevents you from moving forward, and it actually can damage your self-esteem because you're constantly in that phase of planning. So this is what I see often. So I want you guys to think about this. And if you see yourself in this phase constantly, so whether you are a solopreneur or whether you've got a team of people, I'm a big advocate of planning, and I'm not saying don't plan. I'm saying you absolutely need to plan for success. But actually having a plan and on its own is not going to give you the success that you need. You need to make sure that that plan is actually followed up with action and that you're seeing that through to fruition. So quite often what I see, and maybe this might resonate with you, particularly if you're a creative person, which I fall into that category. I love creating stuff. But there's a big trap with that. And the trap is that we're constantly in this planning phase and we never get out of it. So we're always thinking about, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? And, I talked earlier on in the week about innovation, and there's innovation in one phase, but then you need to move yourself out of that phase in terms of planning and innovating and making sure that you see things through to fruition. So sometimes I've experienced this in businesses, even of my own, where you are constantly planning to bring out new products, new services, and what have you, and you never see anything through. So, what do you need to do to make sure that you actually see things through? Well, firstly, you need to understand what type of person you are. So, are you somebody that actually enjoys that constant planning and constant, in that phase of creativity? If you are, the best thing you could do is actually to go and find other people that you can put in your team that will help you stay in your zone of genius, which is that creative, but then also help you to bring the things that you have created through to fruition. And you want to make sure that you follow those through and bring them to fruition rather than going, hey, well, what else can we add next? And what else can we add next? Because what happens with that is that you constantly then are bringing yourself back to square one all of the time. So one of the actions I want you guys to do today is I want you to stop and just think about all the things that maybe you've created nothing. Maybe you are brand spanking new and you are going to create something. I want you to plan, but then also think about what actions do I need to take to bring my planning and my ideas to fruition and actually take them to the market and make some money and impact the world. And if you already have a business and potentially you've created a whole heap of things that are sitting on a shelf, because as we know, they are a fat lot of use there. You actually need to get them out to the market. If you're, got a massive desire to do good in the world and make an impact, the great things that you've created are no good to anybody sitting in a file or on a shelf waiting for you to actually follow through. So just making sure that you take stock of that and have a look at the things that you've already created before you go creating something else new, and make sure that you get that out to the market and you test it. Then you can add something new to it as time goes on. So that's the first thing, is making sure that you bring things to fruition. The next thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about this from experience, and I'm going to talk about perfectionism. So I just like to have things just so. That's just part of my my makeup. I like to make sure that I do things really well, and there's a big trap in that. For two reasons. One is we stay in this realm of perfectionism, and you create something and you go look at it and you go, oh, I could make that better, and you just keep making things better, and you're trying to always get it at 100%, and therefore nothing ever happens. And often we will then start looking at, and the thing is, with social media being so at our fingertips, you guys are on here now, you're probably looking at, wow, those guys are doing shows and they've got all this fancy stuff running under the bottom, and they've got logos and all this sort of thing. One of the things that we need to get really comfortable with is that in the beginning, when we start out, our stuff is going to suck. And you've got to get really comfortable with the fact that you are going to suck, and you might suck for quite some time before you start getting really good. And it's okay. The problem that that often we see, particularly with social media being so like I said, at our fingertips, we start going and having a look at what other people are doing. So you start scrolling, you pull out your phone and you're looking on Facebook and you say, oh man, they're doing something amazing. And then you start comparing yourself and you start thinking, well, what I just sort of created yesterday, it's not good enough. I need to go back and I need to create it better. And what you're actually doing is you're creating for yourself what I call the disparity gap. What is the disparity gap? Well, the disparity gap is this. It's like knowing where you are right now and being comfortable with that, and then looking and thinking that you should be at a certain level. You should be somewhere else. You should be doing things just as good as, I don't know, let's just pick somebody, Tony Robbins or a Dean Graciaso or a Russell Brunson. So you're pitching yourself, you're pegging yourself against somebody else that's been in the industry for a long time. And that really is, you're doing yourself an injustice and creating that disparity gap. What you need to get comfortable with is comfortable with where you're at. Everybody starts somewhere, and you just have to get yourself out there. And I'm just saying here, I'm just going to pull this up because Scott, who is just talking to me now, is spot on. So nothing ever gets done. So when you stay in that realm of planning and expecting that everything is always going to be perfect, you just want to keep improving, improving, improving. My advice to you is to just get stuff out there, and you need to do this thing called a perfectionism reset, is what I call it. And you want to reset yourself, and Scott's actually said it here, is 70%. So if you can get yourself to 70% and ensure that what you're putting out there is good enough, and I can almost guarantee you guys that if you've got stuff out there and you're working on it and you've been sitting on it for some time, and you've been keep going back to it to try and make it better, my advice is just get it out there. And quite often you need to get your stuff out there to a point where it's like 70% is good enough. The reason being, the people that are going to follow you will be the people that are, that are not quite at the level that you're at yet. And I love to follow people whom are not the big gurus, but are the guys that are just in front of me. Why do I enjoy doing that? Well, because what their path that they have just paved, they've just done it. It's fresh in their mind. It's not 10 years ago where they're trying to now teach me something that they did 10 years ago and was successful back then, and trying to remember how they did it. Often when you're following some of the gurus, you want to follow people who have just done that. So an example of that might be, hey, these guys have got a brand new show. I want to get a show out. Who should I go and follow? Would you go and follow someone like Ellen, who is, has been doing it for many, many years, has got a massive team around her? No, probably not. You would find people like, I mean, we don't do this just yet. We're not teaching how to do this, but in time we may do. But you would follow someone like a Metadine, who is at the cutting edge of doing shows and things, so that you can then follow their path that is fresh in their mind, and they have just done it in the environment and in the the economic times that we're in right now, not 10 years gone. So perfectionism, I want you to say to you guys that whatever it is that you're doing, I am almost certain that what you've got on the shelves right now will be good enough to get it to the market. What I would encourage you to do is go back, and if you haven't got something, go back to my show on Tuesday and have a look at what I was talking about in terms of like how to innovate in the market and how to validate an idea. And this whole thing is around getting your stuff out there. You will never ever know if what you've actually planned to do is going to be successful if it stays in a plan, if it stays in the plan format. You want to make sure that you get it out there, and then you can start tweaking it, improving it, adding other things to it as you go. So I'm seeing that we've got a bunch of people joining us today, a whole heap of people that are just coming up as Facebook users. So I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but this Facebook person is saying that they are excited and they're full of enthusiasm. So yeah, often, which is a great point, because that also is one of those spaces that we can sit in regularly. And if we stay there too long, you always want to have enthusiasm. You always want to be passionate about what you do. But if you're constantly in that space of, I'm just passionate about stuff and I'm not really doing anything, I'm not making any traction, and I'm not taking action, nothing will ever come, you'll never bring anything to life. So I just want to encourage you guys to make sure that, you're getting your stuff out there. I think it says it's Nikki Boysel Parker. Hi, Nikki. Great to have you here. So get your stuff out there. This timing right now is huge. There is a massive opportunity for you to, particularly if you're doing it in the online space, massive opportunity for you to get your information, your tools, your resources, and your knowledge out to share it with other people. And people want to see that, the mistakes that you've made and the problems that you've come across. They want to know that, because generally what is general to, what's a problem for you is probably generally a problem for somebody else. And if you can share that and you can help people to understand that they're not alone, if you've gone through this issue or problem before and you've come out of it on the other side, then it gives them a sense of it's going to be okay. I can move forward with this. The next thing I want to talk about here is like not being able to let go. So quite often, particularly when you're starting out, you start out as a solopreneur. It's just you. And you come up with this amazing idea and you start bringing it to fruition and you might take it to the market. And it's your baby. You become really attached to that thing. And then there comes a time where you want to grow. And when you get to that point where you need to grow, the only way that you can grow, because you will soon realize that there's only so far you can go on your own. To help you get to the next level, to help you have, really awesome success. And this applies to any part of your life, whether it's personal, business, or just family or your family. You can't do a lot of this stuff all by yourself. So there will come a time where you need to rely, trust, and empower other people to help you. And it's really easy for us as entrepreneurs to think that we are the only ones who can do things. We're the only ones who can create XYZ as well as we do. Nobody else can do it. And we start going on this hunt of trying to find people who are just like us. If only I could clone myself. How many times have you guys ever found yourself saying that? I wish I could just have a clone of me. That's a bit of a scary thought. I wonder how I would go with a clone of me. But, often I've thought that, gosh, I wish I could just clone myself and put me in certain different spots to be able to help me with my business. But there actually is a better way. And the better way is to have diversity and to have other people come into your business and to help you take your vision and your ideas to a much, much wider audience. So when you do that, you will find that your idea, what it is that you're doing, will start to gain massive momentum. The only way that you can get that momentum, though, is by letting go. We've got to get to a point where we can breathe. We allow other people to step in. We allow other people to do what we used to do with boundaries and parameters, of course, and planning really helps, and accountability, of course. But by delegating and allowing other people to actually step up and do the things that need to be done in your business, maybe the things that you don't enjoy doing, so it enables you to stay in your zone of genius. You bring other people on, put them in their zone of geniuses, and you just start to watch beautiful things to take place and how they all start to come to life. That does require trust. And a lot of that is about trusting oneself, that that everything will be okay, and that you've got you've put parameters around the people that you want to have in your business. So someone's saying here, that is my part. My husband is a professional artist, and I'm the business end. Yeah. So often, business partnerships with husband and wives can work really, really well when the two of you, bring to the table different skill sets. And I'm going to talk, that's a great thing. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more now. I remember when I first started out and I started my own consulting business, and stepping out of the corporate world and into the entrepreneurial world, I didn't really know very many people. I sort of just took this leap of faith. I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to back myself and try this out for size. And like I said, I didn't have a big support network. I didn't know a lot of people in the industry. So I had to really start from scratch and start sort of going to networking events and building out my network. But what I found I was lacking in accountability. And I found that, I could plan, I could sit down and work out, well, what should I be doing for the day? And then I would end up being sidetracked and hijacked by things like Facebook, looking at what other people were doing and feeling like, oh my God, I can't do it like them. I'm not good enough. As you start getting into, you get into this negative self-talk, and I've been there. The thing that I did, even though I didn't have any business partners at the time, my husband became my accountability partner. So there's two parts to this. First was starting out, going from a corporate job where you got paid every fortnight, and then moving to an entrepreneurial space where you didn't get paid every fortnight, and you got paid based on the actions and the activity that you actually did. Your partners can start asking questions like, and not that my husband ever said this, but I've heard other people say it. When will you go and get a real job? Why don't you go back and go back into the corporate world where you get paid regularly, so on and so forth. So they can start planting these seeds of doubt. What I actually did was this whole planning piece. And this is when I was, when if you fail to plan, you plan to fail was like massive in my head. So what did I do when my husband started asking me those questions? Well, this one particular night, I sat up till I think it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. And at the time, he was working night shift. And I stayed up until he got home. And I had written out, I'd gone because I did this a lot for my clients. So I actually wrote my business plan. And when he got home, I was still awake at 3 a.m. And, probably not to his enjoyment. I said, hey, I've got something I want you to read. And I handed him my business plan. And he actually stayed up that night and he read it. And he was like, oh, wow, I didn't see that this was your vision. I didn't realize that this is what you were trying to create or achieve. So one of the things, if you're, so this is a bit of a side note, and I know I've sort of digressed a little bit, but it was relevant because somebody is talking about, partners in business. And even though you might not be in business with your husband or wife, you are in business with your husband and or wife, whether you like it or not. That partnership of you being husband and wife does firmly fit inside of your business too, and make no bones about that. They're going to be asking questions, and the more you can involve them in the process, the better. So needless to say, my husband read all of that and he said, wow, didn't realize this was your big goal and your vision. And we moved forward, and he was like, well, how can I help you with this? One of the things that we then started doing was every Friday. So this was it actually worked in two camps. One was that we got to spend a bit of time together when he was at work, and we could talk, we could catch up and have lunch. But every Friday I used to go to his work and we would catch up and we would have lunch. And what I would do is he became my accountability partner. I would take my business plan, I would take the actions that I had planned to do for the week, and what I had to do was front up and be accountable to him, be accountable with the actions that I was taking and what I was actually doing to take the plan that I had created and bring it to fruition. I found that was awesome because it did two things. One, it kept him in the loop, so he knew exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it. And secondly, it kept me accountable and I was able to move forward. There's something about having accountability, and I would recommend that if you're a solopreneur and you don't have anybody right now that is keeping you accountable, of course you can use your spouse or your partner to help you remain accountable, or finding somebody else that is on board with you that can help you stay accountable, whether that's your team or whether it's another colleague that you've met in your respective industry. Certainly in our business, the way in which we do that to make sure that, and this all falls into this space of planning. So we have the plan, but then it's making sure that we execute on the plan. So every morning our team meets for a minimum of 15 to 30 minutes, and we talk about what everybody has done. So what actions have they actually taken? What commitments did they make on the beginning of the week? And what actions are they taking throughout the week to ensure that they actually fulfill the commitments that they made? And week by week, we are seeing new things, new development, and we are able to measure what's actually going on in our business. And we are seeing that we are, taking steps to bring all of the things that we are doing to fruition. Keep your eyes on this page because you're going to see a lot of that stuff happening. It will be all happening in front of your eyes. So as you see things change in this group, that's because our team at Metadime Digital have actually got together. We've planned. We've got to a point where we are comfortable with letting go and empowering the rest of our team to do the things that they need to do in their zone of genius. and we keep each other accountable by fronting up, committing to our commitments, and making sure that we move forward, and then we're tackling anything that is getting in our road. So having a meeting with your team, whether you're on your own or you've got a team of people, super super powerful that you do that, and that you're able to move any of those roadblocks out of the road. And Vicky's just saying, absolutely, it helps with, definitely, it helps with productivity, and it helps the business, grow and move forward. Cannot stress that enough. If you are someone who doesn't have the ability to be able to do that with somebody else, then another option for you is to get a coach and or a mentor. They will also help you keep accountable and help you to move forward, and also to help you navigate any stormy waters that you get yourself into that you're not sure how to move through. So I just want to come back to these things. Like, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and why I felt that that's flawed. And what I don't want you to get the what I don't want you to feel this message is a message of don't plan, because that's not what I'm saying. You absolutely need to plan, but you then need to keep that plan alive and bring it to fruition by taking action. And the one thing you need to do is make sure that you've got, if you can't take action on it, find people who can help you take action on it. If you need to outsource, or you need to get somebody else on your team to help you move forward, then that's the next step that you need to take. Let's have a look. This person here is saying, I feel I need to be the decision maker and the sales. In other words, let me do all the talking. And my husband knows, that one. So yeah, so often as time goes on too, you will find that you will move away from being that person on the front line. So if by putting together scripts and coaching people of how to do the sales, totally get that, we're the ones that are super passionate about our business, and we're the ones that can speak really highly of it and do the sales piece. But over time, when you lift yourself up and you step up into like becoming a CEO or a CEO of your business, then your job is to create the vision, and to get people to buy into your vision. And boy, you will start to see your team come up with some amazing ways of being able to move your business, your ideas, forward in ways that you probably never ever thought of. So I just want to recap. So the three things that we covered, and we digressed a little bit, I know, were like constant planning will keep you stuck. It will be the number one killer of your momentum. So make sure that you plan, but then you very quickly move from planning into implementation and taking action on things. And don't forget that you have choices all the time. You don't have to stick with the same plan. Your plan should be flexible, but you want to make sure that you actually follow through with your plan and then tweak it as you go. Second thing is perfectionism. Reset your perfectionism button. Perfectionism, 70%, get your stuff out there and then tweak it and improve it over time. If you constantly sit in that space of, I've got to get everything to perfect, and I'm trying to, run at the same, I'm starting out as a runner and I want to run like, an Olympic sprinter, it's not going to happen. Just be comfortable that you've got to get your stuff out there, and don't sit in that space of being, of perfectionism constantly. And then the third thing is not being able to let go. So just get really comfortable with, it's okay, breathe, let some things go. The reality is people are going to make mistakes, and I almost guarantee you make mistakes. So if you make mistakes, your people are going to make mistakes. The way in which you handle that mistake will be the making or breaking of you. So just take that into consideration. Allow your people to do what they do. They're going to make mistakes, as long as it's not, massive risky mistakes. It's not a big deal. Let them learn from that. They will learn, and you'll be able to move forward, and they will, get better and better over time. So that is the fast path, in my opinion, to moving out of that space of, plan, adding more and more and more to your bucket list all the time. bringing things to fruition and allowing other people to get on the bus with you. You remain the driver, but you want to make sure that you keep them informed with where they're going and why you're going there. And when they get on that bus, they will not want to get off. And when you empower them to do the things that they do well, and they can see that what they're putting into your business is having really good results, you will have, team members that will be, that love you and don't want to leave. So with that being said, guys, we are like bang on 10:30. These shows go for 30 minutes. I just want to reiterate and thank our show sponsors for today. Show sponsors are Usability. Head on over to usability.com. I'm just going to pop that in. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just pop it into the ticker for you so that you can actually see. So you go to www.usability.com. Head on over to those guys. What you're going to get there, go and have a look, because they do websites, funnels, and e-commerce all on the one platform. So you'll find that that's super, super usable. And I've also got a discount for you guys. So on their business and their growth plans, if you type in the word unlocked, UNLOCKED, at the checkout, you'll get a 10% discount. To sign up and to give it a go, to play with their platform, you get a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. So you only need to pay if you decide that you love their platform and you want to hang around. So go and check it out. Like I said, there's a discount code that you can use. It's valid until the 13th of June, after which time that 10% discount will expire. So come back, see me here again. I'll be back next Wednesday, Australian time, Tuesday, for those of you that are in America and the UK. And I look forward to seeing you again on another Unlocked show that's been brought to you today by Metadome Digital. Thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you guys living your life unlocked. See you again soon. Bye.